Season 3 of Attack on Titan is in full swing, and it's already been a pretty wild ride. Political uprisings, errands, doing fine. Apparently it's also kind of a western now. There's just a lot going on, which is saying a lot for a show that just drops crucial plot twists like they're random afterthoughts like all of the time. I'm still not over Reiner's reveal to Eren last season, and then this season you're just gonna start giving every character the same last name so the whole show is just like an awkward family reunion? That last bit didn't really land because I'm trying to keep this relatively spoiler-free, because today we're not really talking any fine plot details. We're just talking the constant threat that lurks over the horizon in this show, those man-eating titans themselves. But wait a minute, are they really a threat? These titans have a huge problem that could just stop them right in their tracks, and that is what we're talking about today. I'm Jacob with Channel Frederator, and today I've got a literal bone to pick with this series. That probably doesn't make sense and wasn't funny, but it's gonna be at least one of those things in just a few minutes, because today we're gonna be exploring the fatal flaw of Attack on Titans. To be clear, this is not an examination of the differences between the manga and the anime of Attack on Titan. For the purposes of this video, we're gonna be mostly sticking to the anime. But if you do want to see a video comparing the arcs of the anime to the manga, we've got you covered on our new anime-focused sister channel, Getting the Robot. We've got 2 videos there right now comparing the anime and manga arcs of Attack on Titan, and we're making our way through My Hero Academia as well, with more to come. So if you're a fan of either of those, or really any anime, go check out Getting the Robot. But yeah, when I said I had a bone to pick with this show, I wasn't kidding. I'm not stringing you along for this one. The problem I have is literally the Titan's bone structure. And I don't necessarily mean Titan shifters, those people who have been imbued with the power of the Titans. I'm talking your basic, run-of-the-mill, boilerplate Titans that litter this world with their off-putting existence. Yes, Titans in this show are technically anatomically different from humans. You know, they've got a different physical appearance, they don't really need to breathe, and while they do like to have people for dinner, they don't necessarily have to eat anything. And that's not even talking about their most defining characteristic, their height. Titans have a wide range of heights, from about 3 to 15 meters, or about 10 to 50 feet. And the colossal Titan more than lives up to its name, being a staggering 60 meters tall, or a little over half the length of a football field. But Titans maintain human properties, or at least something close to them. Some might have some misshapen bodies that might resemble the work of Junji Ito at times, but they're all humanoid creatures. So it should follow logically that they have similar physiology. But it's here where everything starts to fall apart. Have you ever wondered why there aren't giant humans? Why some of the most fantastical examples of real-life giants we have are people like the 7'3" Andre the Giant, the 8'2" Sultan Kosen, the currently tallest person on Earth, or the unbelievable 8'11" Robert Wadlow, the tallest man to have ever lived? It's because we, as humans, generally have certain limitations to how big we can get. The people I just listed had conditions that affected the production of growth hormone in the pituitary gland. But generally, our bodies will know to stop us from growing any taller or bigger than we can handle, since being as tall as these men often comes with other severe health problems, not the least of which are bones. When talking about the viability of hypothetical giant humans, it happens more often than you'd think, there's this thing that always gets brought up: the square cube law. That's already enough math words to sound super intimidating, but all it means is that as the size of something is multiplied, its volume, the cube, increases way faster than its area, the square. The best way to illustrate this is with a cube whose dimensions measure 1 centimeter, the area of one of its sides being 1 square centimeter and the volume being 1 cubic centimeter. But let's see what happens if we give this cube the dimensions of 5 centimeters on each side. It's still the same shape, but the area of one side now equals 25 centimeters squared, while the volume has gone up way more, now measuring 5 times the value of the area at 125 cubic centimeters, widening the ratio between area and volume. Because of this, as things increase in size, the volume becomes harder and harder to support, since it depends on the cross-sectional area of the object. As we just showed, if the cross-section of the area suddenly becomes a fraction of the volume it needs to support, then the entire structure will just collapse in on itself under its own crushing weight. Unless the base ended up being built out of something stronger, I mean. This applies to basically everything, from towering skyscrapers to the bones in your body. Now finally, let's bring Titans into the mix. In episode 15 of season 1, we're given a pretty close look at some Titans recovered by squad leader Hanji. Both their exteriors and their interiors at the end of the episode when their skeletons are exposed. The one lying to the right here is Bean, a 7 meter or about 23-foot Titan that we're going to be using as our reference here. Now Attack on Titan seems to take place in an alternate universe fictionalized world with heavy Germanic influences. With that in mind, since Titans don't have a specific gender assigned, according to them, usually, the average height between men and women in Germany is about 173.1 centimeters or 5'6". That means that our being here is 4 times as tall as an average person. But as the square cube law just showed us, if the proportions of the body stay the same, which they do, relatively speaking, that means the volume of the Titan just skyrocketed while the area saw a significantly smaller increase. Its bones grew just enough to maintain the look of a humanoid skeleton. If this Titan was to be supported despite being 4 times the height of a normal person, the cross-sectional area of its bones would need to have so much extra thickness that you'd mistake the skeleton for the Michelin Man. But as Bean's skeleton is shown in the show, its bones would crumble under the weight of a 7-meter Titan, rendering Bean completely immobile. It wouldn't be able to walk, let alone eat people. And this problem is only compounded when you consider Titans of greater heights, since the ratio of area to volume only becomes bigger thanks to the square cube law. So this all seems pretty open and shut, and with that in mind, what's the problem? It's looking like the Titans are just full of hot air and not actually that dangerous at all. But I just can't help but feel like we're missing something. Now, some of you may have commented a crucial detail that I've ignored up until now, possibly with accusations that I've never seen the show, but I'm getting to it now. Obviously, in the show, the Titans' bones don't crumble under their weight. I mean, they're walking around and stuff, so what's going on here? Well, Attack on Titan's creator, Hajime Isayama, is pretty smart. They even include explanations of the physics of the 3D maneuver gear. Though it is anime physics, so that's an episode for another time. But with attention to detail like that, it shouldn't be a surprise that in the same episode we were pulling our references from, Hanji actually addresses this contradiction. She says that the Titans are unusually light for their size, which is why they're able to move around with such agility. In the manga, she even makes reference to the fact that they shouldn't be able to stand on 2 legs, which we just established as well. Their suspicious lightness is especially shown when she kicks a Titan's head like a soccer ball, particularly noting in the dub that their severed limbs are light as feathers or tree bark. She then goes on to say that we have to flip our thinking to truly understand how the Titans defy our perceptions. And from that point, this hand wave of an explanation about the Titan's weight is just kind of accepted because we don't know everything about Titan physiology, even though we're not told much more than they're super light. But I'm here to angrily stomp my foot and disagree. I can't actually stomp my foot though because my studio setup is so flimsy it would probably just fall over if I did. Or maybe I'll agree in the end. This is why this whole segment is here, so let's put this claim through the ringer. Before we go any further, I should mention, without getting too spoiler-tastic, that Attack on Titan is not exactly hard sci-fi, so the lore-friendly explanation for Titan physics is obviously not going to be one-to-one with our real world. But this is Cartoon Conspiracy, and we're gonna go with what's been presented to us so far in the show. Whatever the Titans are made of, or whatever creates them, it still manifests into a physical form that affects the world around it, and that comes with some huge implications about the Titans, including, among other things, their weight. First off, it's pretty hard to know for sure to what degree that Hanji's claim is true. I don't think it would be unreasonable of me to say that she probably can't lift a Titan. If she could lift Titans, or even take them in a fist fight, Titans would be a much smaller threat. People would probably be able to brute force their way out of a Titan's grasp pretty easily. Also, we need to keep in mind that Hanji was specifically referring to various severed body parts that she lifted, which act very differently to severed human parts, since human body parts maintain the same weight after they're cut off. I'm told. I don't have much experience with severed limbs. Much. Now, there's surprisingly little consensus on what exactly happens to a Titan after it's killed, or after certain body parts are severed. What we do know is that they evaporate into this gaseous substance when killed, decomposing at an alarming rate as evidenced in instances like this. So some people think that the Titans produce so much heat that once they're killed, the heat just continues to burn the Titan's flesh. But if this were the case, the gaseous substance that emanates from the Titan would likely be black smoke, since that's what burning soft tissue like that of a Titan would produce. But instead, they leak this sort of more steam-like gas. And besides, smoke inhalation is pretty dangerous and deadly for multiple reasons, and no one in the show seems all that concerned hanging around dead Titans. It's just hot if you're standing nearby. So concerning the Titan's rapid decomposition and the unknown properties of the gas that emanates from them, I'm willing to bet that once body parts are severed, their properties change greatly when compared to the rest of their bodies, since the decomposition process will have already started on the body part in question, which is why they appear so light to Hanji when she's lifting arms or kicking heads. But otherwise, when all body parts combine to form the full Titan, then the Titan's weight should be something a little more realistic. Because considering some other things about Titans and how they operate, the idea that they're essentially weightless doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Not the least of these reasons being that if a Titan's arm was as light as a feather, it likely wouldn't be able to produce the amounts of energy needed to inflict the kind of damage Titans do. Like I mentioned before, people are very easily overpowered by Titans. You know, since they get lifted and eaten like all of the time. And it takes a lot of force to lift a human, assuming the gravity in this world is the same as our own. I mean, I have a sneaking suspicion that it isn't, again, episode for another time, but if we were to assume that it is the same, to counteract the force of gravity, lifting a 150-pound human with one arm would require around 686 newtons of upward force at the absolute least. Hardly something that can be achieved by something with a proposed mass of tree bark or a feather. Not to mention the amount of force exerted in a Titan's bite is already enough to liberate people's top halves from their bottom halves. And that's not even taking into consideration that when the Titans walk, the ground shakes underneath them. Again, it would be pretty difficult for something that was theoretically weightless, or at least close to it, to create vibrations in the ground that we could perceive. Considering the source of the vibrations would originate from a Titan, you'd have to assume that it's denser and heavier than air. Or feathers. In the same vein of what we're talking about, the University of Texas at Austin has been able to create different vehicles with the sole purpose of simulating earthquakes, called mobile shakers. Most notably the T-Rex, which can make the ground shake at a frequency of 12 hertz and a force of 267 kilonewtons, or 55,000 pounds of force, which is pretty amazing. But if we're going by Titans, we'll want a more conservative estimate, so let's compare our 7-meter Titan in beam to the much smaller mobile shaker, Thumper, which is able to simulate smaller earthquakes with an output of 27 kilonewtons, or about 6,070 pounds of force. Based on the square cube law, would a Titan with similar proportions to a human reach a similar weight? As we established, the average height that we're working off of is 5'6", which, averaging out the male and female ideal weight estimates, comes to 136.2 pounds, or 61.8 kilograms. Because of the square cube law, it's estimated that doubling a human body would increase the weight by a factor of 8, meaning that an 11-foot Titan would likely weigh 1,089 pounds. And if we double the size again to create a full 7-meter, 22-foot Titan, slightly smaller than Bean, that would come to a total weight of 8,716.8 pounds, or 3,953.9 kilograms. The pound force of the Titan would easily eclipse the power output of Thumper, meaning the tremors caused would definitely be within the realm of possibility for something of that size. But as we hypothesized, if this is true, thanks to the mystery of the Titans, we're back where we started. Based on this insane amount of weight, the bones of the Titan, short of being super thick or made of adamantium, would never be able to support the gargantuan weight of the Titan itself. We went a little all over the place trying to unravel the walking contradiction that is the Titans of this series. It should come as no surprise that Attack on Titan plays a bit fast and loose with the justification of their size, hand-waving their weight as a blank check to do pretty much whatever's convenient. And that's totally understandable. From a story perspective, it doesn't really matter. If the Titans were to follow the actual laws of physics, that wouldn't make for a very compelling saga. People could just make sure they just steer clear of the strewn about Titans' mouths as they lie around with their splintered leg bones and arm bones that would hardly let them crawl. But that's still not going to stop us from doing our fun little thought experiments here. And based on what we've seen, it should be clear that hardly any Titan should be walking around. That said, of all the Titans to possibly be portrayed accurately, the largely immobile and severely deformed Colossal Titan might be the most feasible, since it generally doesn't have to worry about mobility, usually only materializing to swat at walls or people. Again, it's hard to say because of the unknown properties of Titans, but I think the Colossal Titan might be one of the more plausible ones. So with this in mind, on the plausibility meter, I'm going to have to rate the conspiracy of the Titan's fatal flaw being their unsupportive bones 4 Survey Corps capes out of 5. With the asterisk that this includes a lot of speculations about how Titans operate while trying to take Hanji's findings into account. So, funny story, right after I recorded that last line, my mic broke. Like, the wire snapped. So now it's the next day because I had to go out today to buy a new mic to record the outro to this video. So if I sound different right now, that is why. Have you been keeping up with the new season of Attack on Titan? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments. We're going to be continuing the conversation down there. And of course, don't forget to check out our new anime channel, Getting the Robot. Once again, I'm Jacob, and as always, Frederator loves you.